Right now, we want to get to another giant in the business world as we continue to talk about finding solutions to some of America's thorniest problems, race inequality, and, of course, right now, the coronavirus and reopening the economy. We're joined by Steve Ballmer, the former Microsoft CEO, founder of USA Facts, and chairman of the Los Angeles Clippers. Steve, it's great to see you this morning. We appreciate you joining us. And I know you have lots of thoughts on where we are in this world these days. And given the work you've been doing with USA Facts, looking through some data that may be surprising for viewers. And I'm hoping maybe we can talk a little bit about that, because you've really dug down and done some really interesting work on how COVID has spread across the country, how disproportionate it has been, but also in terms of how money gets spent and how government money gets spent and how we pay for so much of this, how that is getting doled out, or maybe perhaps needs to get doled out, and how to do it fairly.
Well, thanks. Real pleasure to be here. And you're right. There's so much monumental going on. Certainly the most monumental set of things ever in my life. And sad about COVID, and now very sad and angry about the issues of discrimination and race in our society. But the numbers are an important part of really getting there. And our government, the only numbers that, ironically, I want to believe are the ones published by our government. And our government's got a treasure trove of information which can help us understand what's going on, and probably more important over time, help us make decisions and drive better actions, whether it's treating viruses or ensuring we're making progress in the African-American community.
So, Steve, I know you've been digging into a lot of these numbers. What's been the most surprising that you've seen thus far?
Sure. Let me give you a few. I'm going to give one just because of the issues of this week of protest, et cetera. You take a look at the numbers, and people, I think the general wisdom is, and it is correct, that a higher incidence of COVID is striking African Americans than other parts of the population. But when you think about a state like South Carolina, where 29% of the population is black and 53% of the COVID cases are affecting blacks, it's something you got to understand. And that's not just a function of poverty and recent factors. It has a whole history, if you will, behind it. If you take a look at job loss, in New York, there's been about 1,900 cases per 1,000 people of COVID. In Hawaii, that number is 46 out of 1,000. We did a crawl, Andrew, across all of the states and actually all of the counties, sifting in and out of government records to build a database that really lets us understand that. In fact, we've even partnered with the CDC to provide them with that county-by-county look. But you take a look at New York and Hawaii off the top, and you say, well, Hawaii's in very good shape. If you ask the question, though, who's getting their jobs most impacted? In New York, there's only been a loss of about 8.6 jobs per case of COVID. That number's 232 jobs per case of COVID in Hawaii. It helps frame up for us where we need to act, who's going to need support in the economic recovery. LA County, 3% of the population, 3% of the cases, but Chicago is 1.6% of the population, 4.4% of the cases. How do we frame and understand what we need to do with recovery money going forward, particularly now that we start talking about bailouts at the state and local level?